yesterday. We're glad you could stop by. Today we've got Rob Bentely here from the UEN Professional Development Department, and he's going to share with us a great tool called TinyTap. And I'm going to let him get started right away. Just a reminder, if you have a question or a comment, feel free to enter it there in the chat room in the lower left-hand corner, and Rob will kind of be watching that and answer those questions when he gets a moment or two. Also, all of these faculty lounges are recorded, so if you'd like to go back and watch the archive of this one or any of the other ones we've done, you can go to the faculty lounge page and find that archive. You could also share those with your colleagues. So with that, Rob, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, great. I'm excited today to be able to present on one of my favorite apps for the iPad, and that is TinyTap, as Tim said. And I'm going to share with you my screen so that you can see the website for TinyTap. It's primarily meant to be used as an app, not as a website, but still, I'd like to start just by showing you what the website looks like and pointing out to you that recently TinyTap also was added to the Google Play Store, so you can also get TinyTap for Android devices. Anyway, this is the tinytap.it website, and it's a pretty simple website. It's got information about TinyTap and some examples and things. And I'll come back to this later at the end of the Faculty Lounge presentation today, because there's something about it that I think is kind of special, but I want to save that to the end. But for now, let's look at the TinyTap app itself. So I'm going to pull up a representation here of my iPad. And I want first to say one of the reasons why I particularly like TinyTap is because of the fact that it's a creative tool. I've always loved the creative aspects of teaching and learning. As a teacher, making lessons and then seeing those lessons unfold and creating teaching materials, and of course asking the students to make exciting creative projects. For me, that's always been the most exciting, rewarding part of teaching, just to see what the students can make and what I can make that can help and benefit my students. So TinyTap is very much along those lines. You can use it to create activities for the iPad, including games, simple games. So I'm going to start up TinyTap. You can see it in the lower right corner of this folder on my iPad. But that's what the app design looks like. It used to have a cute little teddy bear on there, but they recently went away from that kind of more childish look and feel. Although a lot of the books and games and activities in here are still kind of aimed at elementary school, but they've kind of done away with the teddy bear that was part of the icon. So let's take a look at the app itself. In the lower left corner of the app, you can see that there's some buttons that you can press. There's Discover, Play, Create, Feed, and Profile. And just to highlight the most important ones, I'm going to tap on Discover, and you'll see that it's got a bunch of featured activities that other people have created, other teachers or just people in general that have created these. Some are created by students. And you can go in and play most of these. Okay, so for example, I could choose this one here that says Bird on My Head, and I could just tap that. And most of these, I would say, many of them are free, but they're not all free. There are some that charge. You can see this one here says buy 99 cents. Okay, and that is the most common price of the ones that do charge. Okay. But many of them are free. This is an example of a free one. It just says get it, and I can tap and add it to my library of TinyTap activities, games, and books. Now you'll see in the upper right corner there's a button that says all ages. This is a tool to help you find other people's creations that you want to use with your students. And you can see you can flip through and choose a language. They're definitely, targeting the whole world. This is an international type effort for this app and website. And so I'm going to choose English, okay? And then you can choose the ages, okay? 7 and up, ages 12 and up, whatever you want to do there. And that helps you to narrow it down a little bit, what you'll find in TinyTap. And then you can do a search as well. Okay, so I could search for math. I could search for Spanish. I used to be a Spanish teacher, and some of my examples that I'll show later, you'll see are Spanish examples. But these are all math activities that just pulled up. Math activities for ages 6 and up, and they're in English. So I think it's a pretty good tool for discovering what's already out there. And as you can see, this is a pretty popular tool. There are many teachers out there using it and creating materials. If I did, let's say I want to add the one that's called Dog Quiz. Okay, I'm not sure exactly what that has to do with math, but let's say I want that content for Math Quiz. All I have to do is tap the little icon that looks like a cloud and a down arrow, and that downloads to my device, to my iPad, and I now have that available. Okay, let's look at the next button. It's play. So I'm going to tap on play, and this brings you to a screen where these are books, activities, and games that I've purchased. Now I'll be honest with you, most of these were free. Some of them are not free now. They were temporarily free for a couple days. Every once in a while, TinyTap will do that. They'll make their paid for items free for a short time. So I downloaded some of these while they were free. Here's the one that I just added, the Dog Quiz, and I'm just going to get out of that. I don't really necessarily want to show you that one, but the idea is anything that you find that you download, it'll be found there in your play button. Just real quick, on the lower right, you do have a profile page where you can put some information about yourself in there if you want to. I'm going to spend the rest of the time in Create. So I'm going to tap that Create button in the lower, center part of the screen. And I can use this interface that pops up to create an activity for my students. And this could be as simple as just a narrated book if I want to. I could make a book that my students could then watch and read and even listen to my voice, or I could have the students create a narrated book. Okay, so that's one idea. You can also use it to create a game or a quiz, and there's a bunch of other things that you can do, and I'll show you 2 or 3 of the most exciting, I think, types of activities you can make with it. Okay, so the first thing it does, you can see it gives you a palette at the bottom of the screen. You have some tools, and then it pops up with this import image menu. I'll talk about that in just a minute, but for now I'm going to tap on the white space on the canvas, and you can see I could just use the tools that are here. I could use the pencil, I could use this pen, I could use the paintbrush or the highlighter, the chalk, and you can pick different colors. Okay, so I could use these things to create what my book or game is going to look like. This is either the welcome screen, the first screen, or it's the first page of the book, however you're thinking about it. If you would prefer not to draw it all yourself, you can use pre-made graphics and things, and that's where that pop-up comes into play. Okay, so You get that pop-up by tapping on the symbol. It looks like an orange camera and a smiley face. You tap on that, you get a pop-up of different options that you can draw from to get images. And let's look at the top one. This is, I think, the most fun of the options. It's the creation packs. These come with TinyTap. So as soon as you download TinyTap, you get these, and they keep adding more and more. I've been very impressed. I was worried that I would just have 4 or 5 of these when I first got it, but they keep adding more and more creation packs. Some of them are based on holidays. Some of them are based on different content areas. Some basic math, science, and as you can see, quite a bit of this is aimed toward younger students. But for those of you in secondary or higher education, don't just dismiss this completely. There's lots of ways that you could use this in secondary and above. So I'm going to pull up this one that's called Counting Monsters. Okay, so I'm just going to tap on that, and you can see that this creation pack, it comes with pictures of monsters and also numbers. So that's the theme, counting monsters. And but I want to use this for a Spanish class. Okay, and the first thing I need to do, I need to just erase all that stuff that I put on there. In fact, it would be quicker. It would be quicker for me just to delete that and start over. Okay, so I'm going to do that. But with the creation pack, I'm just going to grab the monsters off of this creation pack. I'll just tap on it, and the monster appears on the screen, and I can move him around. I'm just touching with my pointer finger and moving him around. You can use 2 fingers to pinch or drag your fingers apart to make the monster bigger, and you can also use 2 fingers to rotate the image, whatever it might be. I'm going to add a couple other monsters. I'm just tapping each one one at a time that I want to add. Okay, and I'm just going to shrink those, move them around, and let's pretend that this is for my Spanish class, a Spanish 1 class, and I'm trying to teach the students and help them learn about the body parts, and also about numbers and other things, as well as adjectives. Okay, so this would be an excellent activity to do that. Okay, and in the interest of time, I'm not going to put in a background, but I could put a background off in the distance. I could decorate it however I want to. But for now, I'm going to call that good. And in the upper right corner, you can see there's an Add Activity button. Right now, this is just a static page, like a page out of a book, right? A traditional book. But if I click Add Activity, or if I tap that and then choose Next, it lets me add an element of interactivity to this. Okay, you can see in the upper left area there that it shows a little thumbnail of the page I just worked on, and then it says I want to, and these are some activities that I can add. And you can see it says there at the left, Add Activity. So it's reminding me that I can add an activity to this page, or not. I could leave it static if I want to. So I'm going to go with Ask a Question, the very top option. That's a pretty common thing we have students do, or that we do to students as teachers. We ask lots of questions. So you can see I get a little pop-up here that says Record Question, and my iPad, of course, has a built-in microphone, so I just tap Record Question, and the question is going to be, I'm going to say who or which of these or who here has 3 eyes and is green? Okay, something like that. So I'll tap Record Question, but I'll do this in Spanish. ¿Quién tiene 3 ojos, es verde y tiene 3 dientes? Those of you that speak Spanish can tell that I'm getting rusty on my pronunciation there. But anyway, when I was done, I tapped Stop. I stopped the recording. Okay, So I stopped that recording now, and it wants me to trace the area of the correct answer. So this is the one that has 3 eyes, is green, and has 3 teeth, and that's what I said in Spanish. So I just touched and dragged with my finger to put a box around that. That's the correct answer. And then I tap check mark in the upper left corner, and I'm done. I'm done with that question. I can go on to add question number 2. So toward the bottom of that pop-up, it says add question. I can tap, and I can record another question. ¿Quién tiene un solo ojo y es anaranjado? And I tap stop. So that one I said, who has just one eye and is orange? So now I trace the answer with my finger, tap the check mark, and you get the idea. I would continue to do this. And then there's something more that you can add to this to make it, I think, even better and more useful. I can tap on each of these questions in turn. I'm gonna just go with question number 1. And if I want to, I can rename it. Instead of calling it question 1, I could call it, description 1 or whatever you want to call it. But also, look what you can do. I've already recorded the question, but I could also record an answer. So I'm going to tap record answer, and I'm going to say something like, excelente. Okay, so that's what they hear if they get the right answer. They'll hear excellent, good job. What if they make a mistake? I can record what they would hear when they make a mistake. No, lo siento. So that means no, I'm sorry. So I'll tap done. And so that question now, it's got a question, it's got a feedback if they get it right, it's got feedback if they get it wrong. Now, a lot of teachers that use TinyTap, what they do is they put in feedback for the wrong answers that's more in depth than what I just did. They say, no, that's wrong because of this and this and this. They give some reasons why it was wrong and try to correct the student's mistake in their thinking. So anyway, I'm going to tap done, and let's pretend that I've put a question in for each one of those. Now, hopefully you're intrigued by this. It's super easy, and you can see how quickly I was able to make the beginnings of a fun activity for a Spanish class. And you could easily do similar things for elementary school. And I hope you'll think about ways you could use this in secondary. I think there's lots of ways. You could put in answers to equations, and then the question comes. You announce the question, the students have to tap the equation, or you could put different science concepts on the screen, and they have to tap like the order of a process or something. Whatever you teach, I'm sure there's ways that you could use this, in those subjects. But when I first saw this, I was excited, but then at this screen here, I just didn't know what to do. It's a little bit unclear, what to do next. I have my question at the left, and then it says add photo, and then there's these symbols at the top of the screen. So what's going on here is, I've completed one page, and that could be my entire activity. That could be the end of it, and I could publish this if I want to. But the reason it says add photo is it's kind of encouraging me that I could create a second page. That's what that is basically saying. I could create a second page if I want to, and a third page and a fourth page, and it would all be tied together as one activity for TinyTap. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll tap add photo, and this time I want to highlight a different kind of activity and also a different source for the images. So you can see here that there is a camera option. If I tap that, then my iPad camera will activate, and I could take a picture of myself or of an object here and make that part of the game or activity. I could also go into my albums. I could go to Dropbox, and that's what I want to do. I'm going to tap Dropbox, and just to illustrate that you can easily tap into your own Dropbox accounts, and any images that you have in there would easily pull into TinyTap. Now you can see it says grown-ups there. As a safety precaution, the people that made this app, anytime you do something that kind of accesses the internet or draws from places that may not be safe for the youngest children, this grown-ups authentication pops up, and all you have to do is touch that circle and hold it for a few seconds, and then it accesses whatever you're trying to access. So this is tapping into my Dropbox account, and you can see I can move down, and I have an animals folder where I've put a bunch of animals. Now I know this is a totally different topic than the first page of my app, but or of my activity. But I just wanted you to see another way you could do an activity in TinyTap. So I pulled in this picture of a cat really easily from Dropbox, and I could continue to do this. I could go back to Dropbox. It's a little bit tedious that I have to do these one at a time. You know, I wish it would just let me select 5 or 6 of them. But still, I love the ability that I have to go into Dropbox if I want to get stuff. Okay. But also, notice that there's a web option, and this is even better, I think, than the Dropbox aspect of it. It's quicker, so I can just go in and I can put in snake, okay, and I have to tap to prove that I'm an adult. Okay, so I can add that snake. I could add, let me just add one more. So I'll add a bear. And then that quickly, you know, I've got some pictures that I can use in my activity here. So this is an alternative to using those cute creation packs. You know, if you teach older grades and you don't want to have your activity come across as too cute, you could just pull images from Dropbox or the internet. So now I'm going to add an activity to it. I'll tap next. But this time, instead of ask a question, I'm going to create a soundboard. As a Spanish teacher, I see lots of uses for this, and I would love to have students do this instead of me just always creating these. It would be nice if I could get the students to do that, to do this. So the idea behind a soundboard, it's almost the opposite of ask a question. What you do is you start out by clicking or touching and dragging to highlight or surround the first object that you want to create a soundboard for. And notice there's a plus sign in the upper right corner. I can tap that and add a recording that's tied to that image or that area that I just outlined. So I'll just tap start recording, El elefante, and then I stop the recording. So now what I just recorded is tied to that elephant, and whenever someone taps it, my voice will come up and it'll say El elefante. And I would go on and do the same thing with El gato and El oso, El serpiente. And then when you're done, when I play this activity, it'll work like a soundboard. The students can tap to hear whatever I've recorded. You know, now if you're a science teacher, you know, you could go in and explain. You could put in a picture of or a video even of a cycle or a process that you are studying or teaching, and then you could have the students tap it and hear your voice explaining what it is that they're seeing. So, you know, there's lots of ways you could use this. So let's pretend that this is done. I would go up to the top of the screen where it says game's name, and I would tap. I'm going to call this delete me, but you could name your game there or your activity. And then if you want to test it first, there's a play button just to the left of that you can tap. You're not going to be able to hear the audio on this, but my voice is playing right now, and there's the right answer. So I tap it, it says excellent, and then it goes on to the next one. This time I'm going to do the wrong answer. You can see it shakes and it makes a silly sound to let you know that those are wrong, and then it repeats the question, and now I'll get it right. It moves on to the next screen. Again, you're not going to be able to hear this, but when I tap the elephant, it says el elefante. I didn't record these others, but you get the idea. So there's a lot of other things you can do with this. I want to show you a quick video of someone else's activity. Another teacher somewhere uploaded this, and I think it's a pretty cool example. It's for elementary school, but I'll just click play. I want you just to be able to hear what it's like.
Welcome to Super Synonyms. Synonyms are words that mean the same. Words like small and little mean the same, but you notice they're both words that describe a size of something, so synonyms are always the same kind of word. Those children are in my class. Let's take the word children out of there and find another word that means the same thing that we could put in there. Adults, girls, or kids. That's correct. Those kids are in my class means exactly the same thing as those children are in my class.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause it there, but just know that there's some really good content that she put into this, this activity, and I think it's just a great example. In the interest of time, I'm going to stop it there, though, and just give me a second here. Okay, so if I want other people to be able to actually see and use the activity I just created, just like the teacher that made that other one that we just looked at, all I would have to do is in the upper right corner, I'd have to make some choices. If I want, I can add music, background music. I'm gonna pass on that, I think. I could, keep working and edit more. Or notice in the upper right area, there's an upload or a share button. It looks like a rectangle with an arrow coming up out of it. If I tap that, it gives me the ability to upload this to the Creative Cloud. That's actually not that's not the official term for it. It's the TinyTap cloud. Okay. And so I would have to describe it. I could say this is for Spanish 1 students, and this is what it's all about. Okay, and then I would categorize it. I can decide if it's going to be public or private. Okay, and then tap Save. It's not going to let me do that because I didn't type a description, but it's pretty easy. It does take some time to upload those to the internet, but I've done it 3 or 4 times. I've ended up deleting a couple of them because I wasn't, very happy with it, but with the ones that I had made. But it does work to upload them in. Real quick, I'm gonna sign in to my own TinyTap account, and I'll show you what it looks like when you publish a TinyTap activity to the website. It makes it so that you can click and you can get your activity online. This is just a one I was practicing around with. But if I click play on it, it starts up, and this URL here at the top of the screen, I can copy that, and I could send that to my students. I could post it on a website, and anyone, whether they have an iPad or not, anyone that has a computer and that can go to this address could play this really unprofessional game that I made. It's not a very good one, but I love this idea that people can create on the iPad, publish to the web, and then it's a public activity, and you can make these into games, books, or other kinds of interactives. So I am very excited about this app. Like I say, it's one of my favorite apps. And for the last few months, I've been preparing a new class for UEN. It's called, let's see, what's the official name? It's Making iPad Games and Interactives with Your Class. And this is one of the 2 main tools that I'll be using and teaching teachers to use in that class. One of the other ones is GamePress, which I did a Faculty Lounge episode on that a few months ago that's in the archives. But these 2 apps I think are just fantastic, and this one in particular is especially I think it's doable by, elementary school students can go in and use this very successfully to create activities, books, and games. So if you're interested in learning more about that class and potentially signing up for it, it is on our website. If you're a Utah teacher, you can go to uen.org, go to professional development, and register for a course. Right now it is full, but you can see the wait list. There's nobody on the wait list, so we always have people that can't come, and so if you wanted to be in the class, you'd have a great chance of getting in, because, like I say, there's nobody on the wait list yet. So thank you for attending this Faculty Lounge episode. I hope you enjoyed it and that you'll look into using TinyTap. I'll turn the time back. Looks like there are no questions.
Great, thanks, Rob. A really nice and powerful tool. So I'm sure I hope we'll get some teachers using it, and hopefully they'll share and let us see what they've been creating. With that, we're going to wrap up for today. Just a reminder, next we have Jared Kovili, who will be talking to us about add-ons in Google Drive. Some powerful tools there for those of you who are at schools that have Google Apps for Education and are using Google Drive as a teacher, and even for the students to be able to do a lot more than just word processing in Google Drive. Anyway, let's wrap up for today. Thanks again to Rob, and we hope to see you next week.